President Trump and Vice President Pence together right now having lunch amid the president's intensifying pressure campaign for Pence to overturn the November election. This is Senator Ted Cruz today saying he will object to the state of Arizona's electoral college results tomorrow. Senator Josh Hawley also pledging to challenge the results in Pennsylvania. At least 140 House Republicans, along with 13 senators, are expected to oppose the certification of the electoral college results. It's a futile last-ditch effort to overturn President-elect Biden's victory. I want to bring in Mark Preston, CNN senior political analyst, and Laura Barron-Lopez, national political reporter for Politico. Lauren, at least 13 Republican senators, 140 House Republicans planning to stand with the president in this failed effort to try to overturn the election. It's really stunning what they're trying to do. What are they weighing here as they try to make this decision?
Well, the Republicans that are challenging the election of Biden, the electors, they're trying to focus on a number of states, particularly Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. But when you ask these same Republicans whether or not that means that they should invalidate their own elections, the elections of House members or senators in those states, they say no, which really gets at the heart of this cognitive dissonance, Anderson, which is that you ask Georgia House newly elected member who's also a QAnon conspiracy theorist supporter, Marjorie Taylor Greene, whether or not it also means that her election it should not be valid if they invalidate Georgia's electors, and she says no. So that really gets at this chaos that's brewing within the Republican conference, both in the Senate and in the House.
Mark, I mean, President Trump has been signaling out Republicans who are not supporting his effort to overturn the election. I just want to play this for our viewers.
Mike Lee is here too, but I'm a little angry at him today. Where's Mike Lee? Where is he? I'm a little angry at you today.
Twitter is saying he hopes North Dakota Governor Kristi Noem will run against Senator John Thune in 2022, warning Senator Tom Cotton that Republicans will never forget. It's exactly why Republicans are afraid to stand up to Trump. They don't want a tweet or a rally call out. It's pathetic.
It is. It's really pathetic. And you know, Anderson, it's gotten very, very complicated, I think, certainly in the last couple of months for the Republican Party. When we talk about what is the future of the Republican Party, it's going to be split in the near term. We already have these Trump activists, supporters who are saying they're going to create their own party, which we all know is very hard to do. And basically, it's foolhardy because the way that the system is set up is that if you're a Democrat or Republican, that's really your only clear shot at going to the White House. But what I do think is interesting, too, though, is that we're watching Donald Trump now really engage in a slow suicide, a slow political suicide. I think that we're going to go look back on these times and say that if President Trump had shown some leadership during COVID, had President Trump shown some leadership about being a Republican, going down, winning these two races, oh, and by the way, being the heir apparent to run again in 4 years, then I think he would be in a much better position. But I do think that there are Republicans out there right now that are fearful, as you mentioned, perhaps the likes of Tom Cotton, that want to see Donald Trump implode right now because that is their path to the White House.
And Laura, no amount of loyalty to President Trump or, subservience to him really matters because in the end, Trump will turn against anybody on a dime. President Trump is now increasing pressure on Vice President Pence to do something. He was tweeting today, the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. I mean, Vice President Pence's role here is it's basically just a formality. It's ceremonial.
Right. What Trump is asking Pence to do is certainly irregular. It's ahistorical. It's, this is typically something, what Pence has to oversee is something that is typically non-controversial. And as you said, Anderson, despite the fact that over the years, Pence has been right there next to Trump's side, almost never rebutting him, rebuking him, the president is now turning on the vice president and pressuring him publicly through tweets. One big thing about what comes out of this so-called stunt, pretty much because the fact that it won't be successful, the Republican efforts on both the House or Senate floor, as well as Georgia runoff. One big thing running through the Republican Party right now is that there are voters that are so devoted to Trump who do not believe that that Biden is the legitimate elected president. And so that's something that is a big question coming out of the Georgia runoff, coming out of these events on the House and Senate floor tomorrow, which is how does it impact democracy in terms of these voters being so wedded to Trump himself?
Yeah, Laura, Mark, appreciate it. We got our connection back with Alan Fruman, Senate Parliamentarian Emeritus. He joins us once again. So, Alan, we got disconnected before. You were talking about the pressure, the role of Vice President Pence in this. You were saying it's essentially to open the proceedings. Explain what the Vice President actually can and cannot do during this.
Well, first of all, as a side note, the Constitution and the relevant statute authorizes the, quote, President of the Senate to perform all of these duties. So there is an out for the Vice President if for some reason he does not want to preside. He could duck this and allow Chuck Grassley to preside. Leaving that aside, whomever presides under the authority of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act has really just two powers, two authorities. One, open the ballots. Two, announce the result of the vote. There's nothing in the Constitution, there's nothing in the statute, there's nothing in our precedents or our experience or a practice at all that gives the presiding officer in this joint session any discretionary authority whatsoever.
So when the president is talking about, he hopes Mike Pence, steps up or, really comes through for them tomorrow, is there any, what play does the vice president have if he wanted to try to do something, in favor of President Trump?
Well, there are two parts of that question. What can he do physically and what can he do legally? Legally, he opens ballots and he announces the result. Beyond that, he has no authority to do anything. Having said that, what can he do if he simply decides to announce and pronounce that he and Donald Trump have won the election? Well, we would be in crazy town then, a place where we've never been. Should that happen, it would seem to me that the two houses are not without recourse. In each, the House and the Senate, whenever the presiding officer makes a ruling, those rulings are always subject to appeal in the respective houses. And an appeal, the question on an appeal is, shall the decision of the chair stand as the judgment of either the Senate or the House? And so the burden would be on the chair, in this case, the vice president, to have both houses of Congress separately vote to sustain whatever it is he was pronouncing. So,
essentially, that's a coup. That's a coup attempt, is it not? If this happened in some, developing country where, the person who lost the election just, announces that they didn't lose the election, that's a coup.
I will not disagree with that characterization.
So, given all that we know so far, he's in a really interesting spot because clearly the president is trying to kind of make up that there's something magical that he can do when really his job is, he's like somebody just presenting an award at the Academy Awards. He shows up, he opens up the envelope, and then he announces what's on the envelope.
That's all he's authorized to do. We've never seen somebody at the Oscars open an envelope and give one to you or me, and this would be the equivalent of that.
It's fascinating. Alan Fruman, a lot to watch for tomorrow. Thank you so much.